Bob Ehlert was a well-loved retired Vietnam veteran. He might have been 71 years old by way of the calendar, but everyone said Bob was energetic and playful and was just a big kid. Bob lived in Harris, Minnesota, and in 2005 he bought a condo in Panama City. He loved the city and wanted to immerse himself in the Panamanian culture, and that he did. His high-rise condo had stunning views of the city, and he didn't mind the 2-hour drive to the marina where he kept his beloved sailboat. On June 21st, 2013, two friends staying with Bob found a note he left behind, telling them he was going to be gone for a couple weeks. He was going with his friend Diane to look at real estate properties in the islands of Bocas del Toro. In fact, Bob's credit card was used that same day to purchase spray paint and an axe from a local hardware store. No one knew who Diane was, and Bob would never be seen or heard from again. Where is Bob Ehlert?
Look 71. He doesn't act 71 either.
He's like a big kid sometimes. He's very energetic. He's very gregarious. He's very outgoing and extroverted and social. He likes to be the big man on campus sort of thing, like just, be everybody's friend and buddy.
Bob's buddies last heard from him on June 21st. According to a Panamanian police report, that's the day when Bob's two house guests found a note in the condo. It said Bob was leaving for 2 weeks with a woman named Diane to look at properties in a remote resort area called Bocas del Toro.
Do you know Diane?
Nope, nobody knows who Diane is. Absolutely nobody.
And Bob's daughter, Mariah Ehlert, flew in from Denver last week.
What did you find?
More questions? The police don't have as many resources, anywhere near the resources that we have up here. Flyers posted everywhere. We even contacted real estate agents and travel agencies.
Had there been a car accident?
The embassy said there's been no deaths reported.
In Bob's hometown, Harris, Minnesota,
and we're terribly concerned.
friends are assisting sheriff's deputies who are searching through Bob's financial records.
Of course, the investigator, we took the computer out of his place a week ago. I've picked up all of his credit card statements, and I've turned them over to his ex-wife, who's working with his daughter.
Mariah Ehlert.
What's your worst fear at this point?
That he's dead. Because then we don't get him back.
Hello, and welcome to today's bonus episode of Where Are They? This case is going to be a little different as it takes place outside of the U.S., where most of our cases are. For this one, we are going to Panama City, the capital of the Republic of Panama in South America. Bob Ehlert was born February 16, 1942. As a teenager, he would attend St. Thomas boarding school and after graduation would go on to be drafted into the United States military. He would find himself in Vietnam during the Vietnam War and was a proud military veteran, just as his father and uncle had been in World War II. Bob would meet and marry Carol, and they would have a daughter, Mariah. Carol and Bob would later divorce, but would remain friends. After his military career, Bob would get a job with ADT Security Systems. It was from there he would retire and work to make his dream come true. He wanted to live part of the year on his farm in Harris, Minnesota, and the rest of the year in Panama. He had two lifelong dreams he spoke about often. He wanted to sail around the world and own property in South America where he could farm the land and grow crops. He would joke and laugh and ask people to call him either Farmer Bob or Captain Bob. In 2005, Bob would purchase a high-rise condo in Panama City. He still hoped to buy land, but he was also very much an extrovert and loved to socialize and meet new people. He had a lot of friends and loved being in the hustle and bustle of the city. He loved the city so much, he didn't even mind the 2-hour drive to the marina where he kept his sailboat, the blue Rhapsody. He wanted the best of both worlds, the city life and the boat life. Let's examine what happened in the events leading up to his disappearance. In June of 2013, Bob had 2 friends come stay with him at his condo. It was mentioned these 2 people might have also been crew members of Bob's, but their identity has not been made public. On June 18th, we do know that Bob had a conversation with the operations manager at Shelter Bay Marina. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. On June 21st, Bob was allegedly seen leaving the marina. That same day, his friends found a note in his condo stating that he was going to Bocas del Toro with Diane to look at some real estate. In the note, Bob also said he would be back in a couple of weeks. So no one seemed to know who this Diane was, not his friends, or later when his family was involved. They also said they had absolutely no idea who this person was. And I also did a little research on Bocas del Toro as I was curious how one would get there and maybe why Bocas del Toro was chosen in this note. Bocas del Toro are a set of islands in the Caribbean Sea just off of Panama. It is on the opposite side of Panama as Panama City, and it's really not too close. And curiously, I tried to see how one would maybe sail from Panama City to Bocas del Toro, because a lot of friends thought that maybe he and Diane took the sailboat. But it looks like it would be quite the journey having to actually travel through the Panama Canal to get to the other side. There are flights available from Panama City that can take you to Bocas del Toro, and the flight is listed as about 45 minutes. There is also a bus option that travels from Panama City to Bocas del Toro and takes about 10 hours. And then in addition to that, there's a ferry that you need to take to actually get to the islands. And there is a mainland section of Bocas del Toro that is considered part of the area also, but in the note specifically, Bob mentioned the islands. Bocas del Toro is also listed as the second most touristy place in Panama, second only to Panama City. After some time goes by, and I'm not exactly sure how long, friends in Panama realize that something is off regarding Bob taking off like this and them not being able to reach him, or nobody even heard from him. So they reach out to his daughter, Mariah, in Denver. And sure enough, something most definitely is not right. For starters, Bob's family takes a look at the note that the house guests had found in the condo, and they said the handwriting on the note is definitely not his. In fact, they also said that it didn't even seem like someone who was a native English speaker wrote it, as it was very choppy and the word choices were very unusual. And still, not one of Bob's close friends know who this Diane was. Something felt very wrong. They are able to check his bank records, and they find that the last transaction he had on his credit card was for a purchase at a local hardware store. Bob, or someone with Bob's credit card, purchased some spray paint, an axe, and some other miscellaneous items. They weren't able to get any surveillance footage to confirm that it was indeed Bob at the store or someone who had his credit card. There would be no other financial transactions on any of Bob's accounts. Bob also carried an older cell phone, and this is also back in 2013, so the older cell phones, even then, weren't able to be found using GPS locators. And they also learned that Bob's boat, the blue Rhapsody, was untouched in the Shelter Bay Marina where it had been. So if he did go to Bocas del Toro, it wasn't by way of his boat. And after realizing that the note left behind in his condo was a forgery, authorities and family wondered if he might have been kidnapped. However, there were no contacts made for ransom demands. And it was also noted that nothing was stolen from the condo or from any of Bob's financial accounts. Mariah would desperately try to get help in locating her father, but remember, we're in a foreign country here. Mariah started by reaching out to the local authorities, but they didn't really seem too interested in helping search for lost Americans. They claim to have been bogged down with the drug problem and the drug trade running through their country, and they just thought since Bob was an older, retired man, that he just took off on a vacation. Mariah would reach out to the U.S. Coast Guard, thinking that maybe her father was lost at sea. Maybe he had gotten on someone else's boat. The investigation was moving way too slow for Mariah. So she would begin working diligently with the United States authorities to help her with the search and investigation, but it would not be easy. She would have to work not only with the FBI, but local senators would have to get involved as well. She said that some senators were extremely helpful and caring, while some were more interested in what other senators were doing rather than what they could do to help. Definitely shows the true characters of some of our politicians. As it turns out, there has been a recent history of violence against foreigners in Panama. And that's what Mariah learns in 2013 when she starts this investigation for her dad. In November of 2012, less than a year before Bob Ehlert's disappearance, a Canadian man, Ed Moynihan, vanished from Coronado, Panama. Coronado is a coastal town about an hour from Panama City. Ed's body would be found in March of 2013 in a suitcase on the side of the road. Chris Kremers and Lisanne Froon were Dutch students who disappeared in April of 2014 while hiking the El Pianista Trail in Panama. After an extensive search, portions of their bodies were found a few months later. Alex Humphrey from the UK went missing while on holiday in Central America in the summer of 2009 and has never been found. And of course, what makes these cases more difficult is the difference in cultures, laws, and language when it comes to investigating. So what could have possibly happened to 71-year-old Bob Ehlert in Panama? There are a few thoughts. Number one, Bob was in a car accident, and he and his car are in a secluded remote area of Panama. Mariah noted that the drive from Bob's place to Bocas del Toro goes through a lot of remote parts of Panama, including parts of the rainforest. She wondered if perhaps he did drive down to Bocas del Toro and got in a car accident. And there were no signs of foul play in the apartment. And remember, Bob's car is also missing. My only question here is this mysterious note. Who wrote it, and why did they make it look like Bob wrote it? And who is Diane? Does Diane even exist? There are so many questions in this theory, but it is a possibility. Number two, Bob was kidnapped and taken somewhere. This is also possible, and it explains the note. Perhaps the kidnappers wrote it to buy themselves some time. Although I just can't imagine what the motive was here. Nothing was stolen and no ransom demands were ever made. And yet there is still no sign of Bob. Number three, Bob met with foul play. Perhaps if Bob was killed, his killers put the note there again to buy themselves some time. This happened back in 2013, and there are still no answers. There just doesn't seem to be any apparent motive to harm Bob. Everyone seemed to like him. Unless he happened upon something he shouldn't have. Maybe he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Bob's daughter Mariah continues the search for her dad. For legal reasons, her dad was declared dead in 2014 so the family could manage the properties and have access to his assets. He had a farm that needed taken care of back in Minnesota. But she has continually said that she will never give up looking for her dad. I want to read you a few quotes from Mariah. I am exhausted. All the different aspects of this: lawyers, accounts, bills, FBI, police, countless phone calls, emails, messages from his friends and mine, all wanting something. Add in the emotional element and the reality of what is happening. It's draining and painful. I am tired and I am sad. He had an adventurer's heart. He wasn't afraid to get out and try something new. He loved to drink good wine, travel to far out destinations, sail, garden, give back to his community, and of course, he loved his friends and family deeply. He was much loved and is greatly missed. I'm starting to consider how I'll deal with never knowing. Weather is lovely. Sleep is not happening. Stress is considerable. I'm pushing forward. I've learned that this isn't anything new in that area of the world. It's so heartbreaking and difficult to process and go through. There aren't really any support groups for this sort of thing. But one good thing that has come of all this is that I've learned how absolutely wonderful my friends and family are, and that even strangers have been eager to help. I am so fortunate to know so many spectacular humans. I couldn't ask for a better support system. Bob Ehlert went missing in June of 2013 at the age of 71 in Panama. If you might have any information as to the whereabouts of Bob Ehlert, please contact the U.S. Embassy in Panama at 011-507-317-5303. Thank you all so much for listening to this bonus episode, supporting our show, and most importantly, listening to the story of Bob Ehlert. Let's hope and pray that Mariah and his family can have answers soon. We will be back next week with our regularly scheduled episode of Where Are They? And of course, another unsolved missing persons case bonus episode. Until then, stay safe and hug your loved ones.